Well, first and foremost, thank you for coming on, Carleen. And yeah, just wanted to have a chat to you about your experience with Inspection Express, the challenges that you were facing prior to adopting Inspection Express in your company, and some of the results that you've seen so far. But before we get into that, do you want to just tell us a bit about currently what you're doing with Harcourts in Orange County and just a bit about your business and the background?
Yeah, look, Alex, thanks for having me. I've been over here just over 2 years now. Initially came over here to start the property management division for Harcourts. Over here, agents do a lot of leasing, but there's not actually property management as such. So we sort of were bringing that side of what we do in Australia over here and implement it. So my actual area is quite large. It's from Orange County right up to Los Angeles. So not only dealing with agents, I'm actually dealing as well, obviously, with over here. I think 80% is homeowners that actually manage properties themselves. So trying to reach out to them and get them to convert over to full property management is the hard task for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I could imagine. With owners managing their properties, I guess it would be a hurdle to educate on why they need a property manager. Um, is one of those things, is one of your selling points, the software that you guys have access to and that service and that expertise and that knowledge that you have? Because I imagine some homeowners would think that they have all the expertise and knowledge, right?
Yeah, look, I think some homeowners, obviously, they're what we call accidental landlords. They've got into an investment property, and a lot of the time we get them due to, legislation, evictions, and things like that. And that's sort of how we get them on board. But it is a process of trying to educate them. And I think with us having the systems and having Inspection Express as well as, you know, uh, Rentvine, which we use, is definitely something that's helping us because, we're able to show, our worth with what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely imagine. And on that note, like obviously you mentioned dealing with those landlords has been, converting those landlords who own a property has been difficult or the challenges, one of the challenges. What are some other challenges and inefficiencies that you're facing in specifically the property management workflow? Um,
Yeah, look, with workflow, obviously being a startup over here, we really struggled with, everything was time consuming, doing the move-in reports, the exit reports, just that was time consuming on top of, the open houses. We personally do our own open houses. We don't leave lock boxes. That's another point of difference. Um, every agency is different. Some will say that we're stupid how we do it, but we prefer to do it that way. So for us, actually getting a system that could streamline the routines and move-ins was just fabulous. It just gave us so much more time back to actually be able to prospect and do other things within the business, and instead of always having to micromanage time and try and get things done.
Yeah, definitely. I have this a favorite phrase, which is dollar productive activities and non-dollar productive activities. And
Most definitely.
move in, move outs and routines are non-dollar productive activities. Um,
Necessity, but yes,
exactly.
non-productive as in dollar.
Absolutely. And so why looking for a solution to improve those inefficiencies, why did you choose Inspection Express over other tools?
Look, obviously coming over here, we were a little bit spoilt with some of the systems we had back in Australia, and I was consistently looking for something that was more automated, that wasn't going to be clunky, that could actually integrate with the system that we were going to use. And that was the reason that I went with Inspection Express because it had everything that I needed, plus more. So it just made my job a lot easier and freed up more time for me.
Yeah, amazing. The dream, right? And since you have onboarded with Inspection Express, how has our software impacted your team's day-to-day operations? Can you give us any examples?
Well, look, it's significantly reduced our times in what we're doing, actual move-ins and move-outs. It's allowing us to spend more time with our clients, with our tenants, and service them with more, instead of spending so much time doing reports. And it's just, yeah, the time is invaluable. It's given back to us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any sort of metrics that you've been able to measure in terms of the time savings so far?
Oh, look, easy. The time that we've done, we easy to say we've halved in inspections. I'm actually to this week alone, I've actually done 15 move-ins because we've had quite a few properties we've taken over and brought on. That was unheard of before. There's no way that I could have to do that. I'd probably do three, maybe four properties because the reports were so in depth and just time consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's basically so it's allowed you to grow your business even further than what you have been able to in before Inspection Express.
Yeah, look, most definitely. As I said, being in the startup or even being in the new business or any business, if you're spending that much time on doing your routines, your move-ins, your move-outs, you're not having time to actually start your prospecting or still, having those friendly calls with your investors or your tenants, even trying to follow up on maintenance by not doing that many hours with your inspections, you've got so much more time to actually, invest time in your business and grow it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I always say that as well. Like in terms of it's not a cost in terms of the software that you're subscribing to. It's an investment in terms of the revenue that you're able to bring into the business and the value that you're able to add to the rent roll.
That's right, Alex. That's for sure. It does give you that time back to be able to actually concentrate on the business and grow it.
Absolutely. Um, Perfect. No, thank you. And in terms of 360 tours and the virtual tours aspect to our software, how have 360 virtual tours enhanced your marketing and property management?
Look, definitely another add-on for us. But I think with the 360 virtual tours, it's actually, given prospective tenants a more in-depth look at the property beforehand so they can decide whether that is for them or not for them. um, and it's also helped us as well. We're not wasting time meeting these tenants at the property and they get there and go, oh, this isn't what we thought, or that it's helped with the transparency as well. So it's once again just another marketing tool for us to actually say, hey, to the owners, this is what we can do, this is our added.
Yeah, that value add to the owners to be able to
Yeah,
lease the property faster and have more qualified tenant leads,
tenants. That's right, that's for sure.
for sure. And the AI obviously ties in with the 360. So obviously we have the 360 for your move in, move outs, your routines, and the virtual tours. But we've also got the AI technology that pairs in with that move in, move out procedure. How has the 360 AI feature improved the way you generate your condition reports?
I think that was an absolute game changer for us. It really was. I just love, how much time it saves us the stress of having to sit there. It's so efficient. Report wise, it's like 90% finished. We brief over it with a few clicks and it's all done. So for us, it saves us hours. It's just incredible. We love it.
Amazing. And jumping, I guess, because it ties in with the new Californian law changes. So just jumping into that, with the upcoming California law changes, how important do you think adopting technologies like Inspection Express is in order to stay ahead?
Look, I think it's a must. If someone's serious about property management and doing the right thing, it's a definite must. These laws are going to come into California. Um, as you're aware, you have to have photographic proof at the start, as well as, you move in and you move out. It comes in effect on July the 1st. But I would say if anyone's, seriously about property management, start on board now with Inspection Express, get to learn the actual app and do it, because it's just, you can't afford to end up, being sued or any other issues. By doing this and using this system, it's just fantastic. It just I can't speak highly enough about it. I absolutely love it, obviously.
It's a, yeah, that's exactly what we want to hear when people use the product. So very happy that that's the case. Now you mentioned earlier that you use Rentvine as well as Inspection Express. How has our integration with Rentvine improved your workflow?
Look, it's same thing again. We were looking for systems that were we didn't want so many add-ons, and that's the thing over here. You get one system, you get an add-on, but it integrates great. We're not having to upload the files and download them and put them in another file. It's just seamless for us. And once again, by having that, we're saving more time. We're not having other staff members, uploading that report, making sure the owner can get it, make sure the tenant's got it. It's just seamless and integration. We love it.
Amazing. That's great. That's why we integrated with them. So it's great to hear. And then just lastly, to cap it off, we've touched on this throughout the questions, but just specifically, have you noticed, and if so, what have you noticed in terms of improvements in profitability and team productivity?
Look, obviously with profitability, definitely we've been able to bring more properties on because we've got more time to actually do our prospecting and spend more time, following up with our current investors now. We're finding we're getting referrals because we're actually having those connections with those clients. They're just not like a homeowner, a landlord that's, we look after their properties. We're spending more time there. Our team's actually having more time to obviously put more processes in there. We're doing more marketing. It's just giving us more time back that we can actually, as I said, work on the actual building bigger, as well as networking now out to agents outside our circle. So productivity, it's definitely helped in regards to that. And we're also, as I said, we found in the last 3 months now that we're just really starting to get traction and starting to get more properties on and referrals. So obviously something's working.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I look forward to continuing to see how you guys are just going to continue growing and growing. And we're excited to be on board with the journey as well. Now that's enough about Inspection Express. In terms of let's chat industry. So what do you think is the most pressing challenge in property management today? That you've seen?
Yeah, look, I think balancing tenants and owners' expectations is a really big thing. Um, Over here, keeping up with the ever-changing legislation. California is probably one of the most highly legislated states in America. So that's really, really, you've got to be on top of that. And at the moment, we're really struggling with insurance because we've got insurance companies leaving California. We're finding it very hard to get insurance for our properties. So they're probably the top three that we are, most challenging at the moment in property management here in California.
Yeah, for sure. We'll come back to the tenant and investor expectations. Insurance interests me in terms of the challenges and those insurance companies that are exiting California. We've seen that in the news a lot.
Yeah.
Um, do you think, because I know from my experience in Australia with the 360 in Inspection Express, it's actually really helped with insurance claims and covering owners and buildings, for example. Like there was an apartment that burnt down in Australia. I don't know if you saw, and we had a 360 there. And that really saved the landlords in terms of the cost. Is that something that you guys are looking at incorporating? Is that something you've actively started doing just to add that extra layer of protection on the property for the landlords?
Look, it's not something we've implemented at this stage. Obviously, like you said, that's something that is used in regards to evictions. It comes in fantastic now that we've actually got 360s, we've got photographs. And yeah, most definitely, that is probably something with insurance claim. Maybe further down the track here, like you said, it shows that we've got smoke, smoke detectors there, that they are there. I think that'll be a little bit different over here to see how it will be implemented and how that could be used with the insurance claims. But most definitely, having it is a benefit for sure.
For sure. Awesome, thank you. And then, yeah, with the tenant and investor expectations, you mentioned that that's one of the most pressing challenges in property management today. How have those expectations changed over the years, especially since you've started up to today?
I think in general, everyone wants an answer now. You go back years ago, you had to wait to go home to get the phone to ring someone, whereas now we're available 24/7. And, we've got owners that want an answer straight away. We've got tenants that want to answer straight away. If there's maintenance, everything is the expectation is, you should be available 24/7. You should be able to answer straight away and give them, what they want. And their expectations as well as, you're finding, especially with tenants now, they want more, you know, for their dollar, I guess. And, so they're asking for more modern appliances. They're asking for air conditioning and things like that. Whereas you're still trying to juggle what's right for the tenant as well as what's right for the owner. Because the owners, everyone's the same. A lot of owners don't want to pay for maintenance. A lot of owners don't want to do upgrades. It's the whole thing of, everyone wants their own, I guess, own purpose for what they want, but definitely asking for more and definitely wanting you 24/7 for sure.
I personally am guilty of that as well. I'm like, every time I need something done, I want it done yesterday, not
Yep.
today, not tomorrow, not in a week. Like, I want it done already. And so yeah, it's definitely the world we live in. Everything's so accessible. I can type a question into Google and get the answer straight away. And like you said, I don't have to wait to come home to pick up the phone. Like, if I need to text, a family member or a friend, I can reach out and text them or call them. Like, I don't have to wait.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a world we live in where everything's so accessible and that expectation is there. I really like, and something that you may not know, that this is something we'll hopefully bring out with Rentvine, is with the maintenance, is your ability to, as you're doing an inspection, report that maintenance, and it will automatically feed through into Rentvine,
Yep.
action that task. So again, it's just you getting those tools to then be able to get things done super quickly and efficiently to then satisfy those expectations of your customers and your clients. Um, about the appliances as well. Again, I sort of refer back to a lot of experience that I've had in Australia with property management, and very aware that it's different in the US, but I think there's definitely things to be able to be learnt from Australia, in property management in the US. And one of those things that I've seen utilized with the 360 is that landlord management for appliances, or any maintenance that needs to be done. Things like, I can send a virtual tour to my landlord and say, this is your condition of your property. They may not have seen it. They may be in a different state for 10 plus
Yeah.
months. So to be able to give them that clearer understanding and context of what needs to be done in their property, and then that ability to also just share that virtual tour with a tradesperson to get a quote for repainting without having to get someone to go out to the property, getting that
Yep.
stuff done immediately, and then being able to provide your landlord with a virtual tour. Here's a walkthrough of your property. Here are the quotes of the work that needs to be done. Here is your pinpointed maintenance, within your virtual tour. It's just giving that holistic report back essentially to your landlords, and it's doing it in a quicker way, and it's satisfying those expectations.
Yeah. And like you said, Alex, that's something we haven't implemented, but you're 100% right. That's definitely a benefit of having that and being able to, instead of having to meet a vendor on site, to go through, get the quote, get it back to the homeowner. That it definitely shortened time and effort, that's for sure.
Definitely. And as a landlord, I want to be able to sit in my lounge room, drinking my martini and just looking at my virtual tour of the property and being like, okay, fine, I'll sign off on that maintenance if I must. I don't want
Okay.
to. But yeah, so no, that's really good. And then in terms of, I guess I'll finish off with emerging trends in a second because I'm really interested to get your take on that. But what advice would you give property managers looking to stay competitive in today's fast-paced market and with those expectations? Like, what would you say?
Look, I think with that, it does come down to technology, but it also comes down to, doing your research, keeping up on your legislation, definitely networking, and not just through real estates, network through everyone because you're always going to get a referral of someone or speak to someone. So for me, it's the whole picture. It's not just one thing, but technology and having the processes and all that in place. If you've got that right, everything else is so much easier. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of technologies and trends, what are some emerging trends with technology that you see is going to potentially reshape the property management industry in the next 3 to 5 years? And how can industry professionals best prepare for these changes?
Look, I think everything is going more AI driven. We're crazy to think it's not going that way, that's for sure. I think, we're going to see more and more now in regards to bots. Like you said, you type a question, there's programs now that once you've put everything in the back end can answer your question. And if you're asking about a property, this is how many bedrooms it has, this is the square meterage, when would you like to have a viewing? So I think we're definitely going to go more and more along the technology side of it. And I think also, we're talking about that more properties, tenants are going to be wanting more of, the actual smart systems in there. It's going to emerge, I think, more along that line where everything's going to be more remotely. Our routines, they're going to be remote. The tenants are going to do them themselves for us. Everything is just seems to be going more on the technology side, which is a little bit scary because I still believe that there should be a personal factor in it. Um, but I think for me, it's definitely more people are starting to get onto things that are more integrated technology, definitely more AI and chatbots. It's scary, but hopefully we're not going to be done out of a job.
No, hopefully no. I hopefully not, and I don't think it will be. I think um, before we hopped on to this, we were sort of talking about how we were spoilt for choice with technology in Australia, and I think
Yes.
Australia tech stack really really well. Um, but like you said, it's that fear factor of is it going to replace my job? But at the end of the day, I think we're a people-driven industry, we're a relationship-driven industry, and a property manager does have expert knowledge in the field. And so outsourcing essentially to technology some of these tasks that are necessary, but they're not necessarily tapping into your expertise is a good thing because it is allowing you to be that investment manager that you're meant to be and that relationship manager. You're not a lawyer, a plumber, an electrician, a
No.
therapist. We're none of those things.
I think we are.
We're unofficially those things, but we're not supposed to be.
No,
Like when
no,
you
no.
search property management job description, that is not what comes up. I feel like there needs to be a disclaimer of like information, like true information of like this is actually your job description.
What happens?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely agree with you with that one, Alex, for sure.
Yeah, perfect. It's just funny to see, but awesome. Well, yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss with you. Thank you so much for your time and for your expertise. It's been fascinating to talk to you and get a bit more of an understanding as especially someone who has also moving from Australia to California and getting those insights. Like I'm fascinated to see what's going to be happening in that property management industry in the US and those emerging trends that you did talk about technology. It's really exciting and it's something that I'm excited to bring from Australia as well.
Yeah. And like you said, Alex, I think over here we have so much more room to grow. And, not all of our ideas, Australian ideas, work over here in America, but I just see so many benefits of what we did in Australia, definitely working over here and just giving us the edge.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect. Well, great. Thank you so much, Colleen. And
Thanks for having me.
we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you.